What's up YouTube, it's Plandana here, and today we're talking about DigimonCard.Dev, my personal favourite site for building and sharing decks for the Digimon card game. This website was made by Orange Swim, a software developer and a fan of the card game, and has become incredibly popular amongst the TCG community, even being used for decklist submissions for official events. Today's video is focusing on how to use this website, as I think it's a really important tool for beginner players to get their head around to start really getting into the game. We're going to start by taking a look at the homepage, which is the first thing you'll see when clicking onto the website. If you scroll down to the bottom here, you'll find some very useful videos to help you getting started out in the game. I highly recommend checking these out if you're new to the card game. You can also see a donation link here if you want to support the website, as well as a link to Orange Swim's Twitter page, both here and in the top right here, which will allow you to keep up to date with any updates to the website. So now let's dive into how to use the website, and we're going to start by looking at the library function of the site, which is the full card collection. The first thing you're going to want to do when looking through the library is set up these three filters in the top. We're going to see the EN filter will show the official English cards. Having that turned on will mean you will see the official English version of any cards that have them, and no other cards. The proxy version here will show the fan-translated versions of cards instead of the English version of them. If you have both ticked, you will see both versions of cards show up where there are two. You also have the merge button here, which we're going to click now. The merge button will mean that you will show the official English version of cards where they exist, and the proxy version where there isn't an official English version. The merge is probably the best tool for looking at the Japanese format, whereas English is good if you want to shorten things down and only look at the English format. Now that we've got these set up, we're going to start looking at how to search for cards. One of the ways to do this is by set. You can see the pictures of all the different expansions across the screen here, including the starter decks and the booster packs. If you click on any one of these, such as Special Booster version 1.0, you will open up all cards in that set. And you'll see a counter in the top left here showing how many cards that is. We scroll all the way through and you can see that this is all of the cards from Booster 1.0 back in the day. If you want to clear that search, you just go to the search bar in the top right here and click the X next to the version 1.0 search. And now you're back to the library. And you can do this for any of the sets that are displayed here. For instance, if I want to see all of the currently released cards from BT7, I can do that by clicking the BT7 deck. If you're struggling to see some of the cards, for instance we'll open up the 1.0 booster once again, there are a couple ways to bring those cards closer to you. The first is this sliding bar. You can either drag the slider or click to move it in different intervals, and this will zoom in on the cards, allowing you to see them a lot more clearly. If that's not how you want to do things though, you can also click on the card to bring up a larger version of it here, which contains all the details on the right side of it, plus the inherited effects and what set it's from along the bottom. This is all very useful information and makes it much clearer to read and understand what the cards do. And you just click the X here and you can close that down. You can open that expanded menu by either left clicking or right clicking, but I would advise getting into the habit of right clicking, as when you use the deck builder on the site, a left click will add the card to the deck instead of zooming in. And again, we just click here to close the search. While viewing all cards from a certain set can be useful, it's not necessarily the most helpful when you're trying to build a deck in a format where multiple sets are allowed. And this is where the search bar really comes into play. You can click here to enter a text search. The website provides a few suggestions of things to search here, you can click any of those, but we're going to search specifically for Garurumon. Again, it helps us with a suggestion here. We click Garurumon and it will bring up all cards with Garurumon in its name, including cards that like Wear Garurumon and Metal Garurumon. You'll also see cards like Nokia, Sunamon and Gabumon show up that all mention Garurumon in their text. This is because it just searches for the text present on the card, not just in the name bar. So this search can be useful for finding Digimon with a certain name, or for finding Digimon with certain keywords, or the reference keywords such as piercing. If you want to get a little bit more specific than using just these text searches though, there is a way to get even more advanced with your searching by clicking this little wrench tool. This will bring up your filter options. You can see in blue here we have all sorts of quick search criteria, allowing us to search for cards based on their colour, on their level, on their rarity, and multiple other things. It adds each of those filters one at a time. You can pay attention to the codes used for the setup of the search here, because you can manually type it yourself, but it is much quicker just to use these quick search options. Some of the options might not necessarily make the most sense at first, so we'll go over them. You can see multicolor here will search for any cards that can digivolve from 2 different colors, and parallel will show the alternate art versions of cards only. You can filter by set, choosing any of the first 6 starter decks or up to BT5 Battle of Omega, and you have this tick box to cover including parallel or alternate art. By default this is ticked and will show the alternate art versions of cards alongside the regular versions of cards. If you untick it, you will only see the regular versions and not get duplicates of cards in your searches. You can also change the language sets of your search between English, Spanish and Italian if any of those are preferable to you. If you want to organise your searches a little bit more, you have the sort results options here. By default, the website will organise cards based on their card identification number, but you can change this to different criteria such as the cost, the DP of the cards, whatever helps you out with what you're trying to do. You can also change whether it's going to be in ascending order or descending order. The last useful thing when using these filter tools is the and or searches. This is normally set to automatic and will usually determine which of the 2 searches is best for you, but it's worth knowing that these 2 exist and how to use them. An and search will search for cards that meet all of the criteria you've selected. So for instance, if I click green, Digimon, level 5, and a play cost of 5, this will search up only cards that meet all of these criteria. You can see there are 3 level 5 green Digimon with a play cost of 5. However, if I go back to the search here and I change it from an and search to an or search, it will search up all cards that meet any one of those criteria. So any cards that are green, that are Digimon, that are level 5, or that cost 5. And you're going to see a much larger list of cards come up via that search. Learning how to use and or searches can be quite helpful for you going forward, and so I'd recommend getting your head around it, but for now we're just going to keep things ticked to auto. And if I want to clear my searches and go back to the library, all I do is have no criteria set up, click save, and we're back to no cards in the search. Now that we've had a look at the library function of the site, let's move to the big appeal of this website, which is the deck builder. First of all, we need to find out how to open it. You can do this in 2 ways. You can either click where it says deck builder up here, or you can click the little burger menu over here and go to deck builder. Click that and you'll get this pop up at the bottom of the screen. This is the deck building section of the website. If you want to see it larger, you can click big screen here and it will take up the whole screen. However, you will not be able to view the library while having it in big screen mode. This is useful once you've built the deck and want to edit it, but for now we're adding cards, so we're going to keep it small so we can view the library at the same time. To add a card to a deck, you simply open up the list of cards, you find the card you want to add, and you left click it. It is now in your deck. If you want to alter the quantity of cards by adding more, you can simply click the card again to add another one, or you can use these plus and minus arrows to adjust the quantity. It's worth noting that you can never exceed the maximum quantity of a card no matter how much you click, so don't worry about accidentally putting in more than a legal amount of copies. Another way to get cards into the deck is to import. We're going to go to the import/export button here. Click that and we'll open up this menu. For now we're going to tab over to where it says import, and you'll see 2 options. First of all is text. By following this laid out format, including the double slashes at the start of each line, you will be able to import a text list of cards from somewhere else. This is useful if you've written the deck down somewhere or planned it while away from your computer. You can just type it into here rather than searching each card up individually. Or if you have a deck that you exported from a while ago and didn't save but still have the text file for, you can just copy and paste the text for it. Once you've put all the text in, you slide this slider all the way over to the right and it will import. The other way to import is from Octagon. If you save a deck in Octagon, DigimonCard.Dev can load those files. All you do is click over to where it says Octagon, click choose file, open up the folder that has your Octagon decks inside of it, choose the one you want and double click to bring it in here, and you'll see all the text laid out for the different cards, so you know what cards are in it. And again, you just slide this slider all the way over to the right and it will import. And there we have a rather old BT2 deck imported into it. If we want to clear the deck builder at any point, we can click this trash can icon and we'll get this little pop-up saying to delete the deck. You can cancel to go back or click delete here and it will clear everything that's inside the deck. It's worth noting that when you do this, it doesn't delete the saved file, it just clears what you've got down here at the bottom of the screen. But we actually do want to have that deck open, so I'm going to go open that one up again. Slide to the right, and it is imported. If you're like me, then the current layout of this deck is incredibly irritating to you, because it's imported it in the exact order I built it when in Octagon, which includes level 4s after a level 6, the Digitarmor at the end, options in the middle of Digimon, and that just really bothers me. So what we're going to do is adjust the order of that. We're going to move to big screen just to see it a little bit better. One way to do this is manually by clicking move. Once you click that, it will change it to move mode. In this mode you will see a grid laid out. You can drag the cards around as much as you want and readjust their order, manually positioning them in whichever positions you want them to be. You can then click this edit button to go back to edit mode so that you can no longer move the cards. The quickest way to sort the cards, however, is clicking level sort over here. This will organise the cards based on their level order. If we click it, it will automatically swap the whole deck around, and now you'll see the Digimon will ascend from level 2 all the way to level 6, followed by options, followed by tamers, and that's much more preferable to me. Now if you want to see the cards a little better, for instance these are only taking up a small part of the screen, we can again use a zoom feature here. You have these buttons which will default move it by intervals of 50%, which is quite useful too. If you don't like just the text here and prefer a more visual reference, you can go over to this button that says full cards. By clicking that, you'll see the full art versions of cards, and this is where being able to quickly zoom to 50% is much more useful. If you want them to take up less space when in full card versions, you can untick stack here. You see it's currently highlighted pink to say it's been selected. If you unselect that, then it will only show one copy of each card with the quantity next to them. This will allow you to use up less of your screen space displaying them. DigimonCard.Dev also has some very useful tools to help you out while building your deck. First of these is the deck size checkers. You can see how many digi-eggs you're running and how many cards in your main deck you're running. You can exceed these numbers by going up on additional quantities of cards or adding more, which will cause that number to be highlighted in red, letting you know you're breaking the rules of the game. This can be useful so you don't have to count every single card that you're putting into the deck. Next to that we'll see this option showing a price in dollars. This is showing the average price of your deck based on tcgplayer.com prices, which is like the standard market price. By looking at this as you build your deck, you can determine roughly how much it's going to set you back financially, which is useful if you're building on a budget. If you want some more detailed information, such as the curve of cards in your deck, you can click stats here. This is a very useful function which will bring up a nice set of bar graphs talking about your deck. You can see your spread of card types, of levels, and of colours on this graph. This is very good for getting a very quick visual oversight of what your deck looks like. You can also switch it over to a percentage slot rather than numbers, so you can see that 100% of the cards in the deck are purple, or that it's got 54 purple cards. You can also do some testing with your deck to make sure that it's getting the good sort of ratios you want by clicking roll here. What this will do will be randomly shuffle the deck, provide 5 security cards and 5 cards in your starting hand. You click roll and it will line it up like this. You see at the top we have 5 security cards and then our starting hand of 5 plus the card we draw in our first turn. From here we can keep clicking roll again to re-roll. By doing this, you can get an idea of what your average starting hands and security are going to look like to know whether the deck is as consistent as you intended it to be. The stats and roll features are incredibly useful and what make this such a great deck builder, because they can really give you an idea of whether your deck functions the way you want it to. So now we've finished building our deck, we want to look at a way to save it. The first way to do this is to save it to your account on DigimonCard.Dev. To create an account is pretty simple. You'd simply click where my username is here, it will say sign in, make an account, it's free, it takes less than a minute to do, it's very helpful. To save your deck, you'll first need to give the deck a name. For instance, we'll just call this one BT2 Purple. Now that we've given it a name, we can click this little save icon and it'll bring up a list of all the decks for your account. You choose one of the slots and it will save the deck to there. However, I don't want to delete any of my decks, so I'm just going to click cancel save. If you want to load one of your decks, you can either click your username in the top right or open the burger menu, go to my decks, click that. It will bring up a list of all the decks and you simply click them to bring them into the deck builder. I'm not going to open that now because it will also show my email address, which I'd rather not give away on the internet. That's how you save a deck if you want to access it later on, but what if we want to bring it to another platform? That's where the export function comes in. We're going to again open the import/export menu. This is going to give us a lot of sections for different ways to export the deck. The first is text list. You can see that this is the correct format for importing and exporting text lists to DigimonCard.Dev. We simply have to highlight this text and then we can use that elsewhere. So for an example, we can copy that list, close this, clear the deck builder, open up the export, go over to import and paste that into the import here. We'll slide it all the way to the right and the deck's imported. You'll see it's in a slightly different order because by default the text import will do things by a set number, and that's why we end with Beelzemon and then Devimon here. And we're just going to click level sort to reorganize that again. Other ways to export the deck also include to Tabletop Simulator. Information for that can be found in the mod or in other videos. You can export it as an Octagon deck by clicking download Octagon deck here. That's the same sort of file we could use to import Octagon decks. You can export it to untap.in. More information will be provided on that website. Or you can use the very helpful image export here. It will export an image exactly as you can see it in this picture. As it says on the website, do not click multiple times. It may take a few seconds to generate the image. All you do is click to download, wait, and your browser will download this image here. Another way to do this is to share the deck. One of the best ways to do that is go over to photo mode here. This will open up a very visually appealing way of looking at your deck, including all the stats relevant to it. Photo mode is very nice and useful for sharing the deck. All you do is you click share here, it will pop up a link, and if you share that link with someone, they will see the deck in this display. You can also apply a deck name, your author name, adjust things such as the max width of the deck, show where the card count is in different places by moving it between the top right and bottom right, and adjust the quality of the display. You can also download this image as another way of saving an image file if that's what you want to do. For now, we're just going to click return to deck builder. The last way to share the decks with others is to publish the deck on DigimonCard.Dev. To do that, we click here where it says Publish Deck, and you'll see that it will try to publish it to the community decks. If your deck is used in a tournament and places well, you can send an email via this link here that you just click with your deck, where it placed, and it may get added to the tournament decks section of the website. All you do here is choose which of these stats you want to use, whether it's on number or percentage, type in the deck name, add an optional description, and slide this all the way to the right to publish the deck. If you want to see decks that have already been published, to do that we click where it says decks in the top right. It's going to take us over here to a list of all the different community decks. You can also see a tab for the tournament decks that we mentioned. This is a good way to see what other people are building. By default, it will show it by their post date, but you can edit that to go from the older decks or the newer decks, depending on where you want to start. You can also search for specific cards that are used. For instance, if I scroll down here and choose Plesiomon ST210, it will show up all decks that use Plesiomon from the blue starter deck. This is a good way to know if other people are using a certain card you're interested in using and what they're doing with it. It's a very useful feature of the site, and I strongly encourage you to publish your decks to the community so that others can take inspiration from your deck building ideas. So that concludes our tutorial on how to use DigimonCard.Dev. I hope you found this useful and that with this tutorial you're going to be able to get the best use out of this great piece of software. Remember, if you want to keep up to date with updates to the website, you can follow Orange Swimmer on Twitter, or you can join the Digimon TCG 2020 Discord server and check the DigimonCard.Dev updates channel. I'll put a link to the Discord server in the description of this video. Again, I hope you found this helpful. Enjoy your Digimon deck building and good luck with the card game. Peace out.